A late Brian Brobby strike means Arsenal are held 2-2 away at Sunderland. Gab, the clean sheet streak is over. And City are 2 points nearer, 4 and behind in the table.
Yeah, so I don't care about the clean sheet streak. Like, to me, like, not a thing.
Yeah.
Where I would draw, the reason I would be less concerned here about this is both goals come from individual mistakes. And they come from individual mistakes made by arguably two of Arsenal's best players this season, right? Declan Rice and Gabriel. The way I know Brobby is big and strong and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But so's Gabriel.
Yeah,
and he has a much better name.
He gets muscled up,
He gets completely on muscle. The other one, Declan Rice, misjudges the flight of the goal. Arguably, you can blame Rice on the Brobby goal as well, who kind of lets the ball get past them. So when your best players make mistakes out of the blue, I'm not, and it's one mistake, I'm not concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I see what you mean.
I'm more concerned by systemic failures.
Yeah,
I thought Arsenal had enough chances to score. And I also thought, and I hate to say it because one of my heroes, Alan Shearer, disagrees with me on this, but Ballard should have been sent off.
It's a red card for me every day.
or at least a penalty.
Yeah.
This idea that, but you have to jump to put your... First of all, he's not jumping.
No.
He's just leaning forward.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you got to learn how to do that without elbowing Marino in the face.
Yeah.
Jules, we're not done because we have more quick hits.
Yes.
Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United battle to 2-2 draw as Matthijs de Ligt rescues Ruben Amorim deep in injury time. Jules, they both get a point. You can make a case that's generous based on what we saw. Maybe they should have both gotten 0 points.
It was a terrible game of football. I'm not really sure. I guess probably worse for Spurs being at home, and I'm not really sure where they're going, how they're going, and what's the idea here, because I just don't see anything. Maybe they just don't have enough talent for what Thomas Frank wants to do. Maybe Thomas Frank can do what he wants to do, or maybe he doesn't even know himself. But this was so poor from them. And I know at some point they look like they're going to win the game in a miraculous way, because that goal from Tell is deflected again. And the one from Richarlison is a free goal.
Was Odegaard's shot not going in?
I'm not sure if it goes in. It looks like the little flick from Richarlison brings him, because he's so close to the post. If he doesn't touch it, I think he hits the post. So, and I think Odegaard is, for me, one of the bright things that Spurs can show for so far this season, but it's not enough.
What about them getting totally just hammered after taking off Xavi Simons? I mean, it looked as if you'd taken off Gary Lineker.
Yeah, the bruise and stuff. I mean, I don't see anything from Xavi Simons that I've warranted him to stay on the pitch anyway. So, Chelsea scored 3 times after the break to beat Wolves 3-0. Gab, the first half was awful.
He's absolutely terrible. You're playing a team. I don't care. Garnacho, a chance. He runs, blah, blah, blah. And then he throws his arms in the air. Maresca's having a really rough time. You know what? This is a game where Moises Caicedo was ordinary. Rather than superhuman, and then all of a sudden everything deflates. You talk about Palmer dependency. There's definitely Moses dependency. Chelsea scored early in the first half, and then they bring in Estêvão, and then business picks up. Talk about a player lifting a team.
Yeah,
he's a one-man show. He's tremendous. I don't want Chelsea to play him every week because he's still 18 and he's a kid and whatever, and you don't want to get a situation where he picks up injuries, but he's just so much better creatively at so many other things. Maresca praising Garnacho. I don't know if he's trying to do it to lift his confidence or whatever, but Garnacho is so frustratingly inconsistent. Inconsistency at the back as well. Wesley Fofana, not good. There's just a lot to work on. Aston Villa are back, baby. Emi Martinez goes into beast mode, and they destroy Bournemouth 4-0. Jules are joint 5th in the table. Right off Unai Emery at your peril.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the back of a Thursday, Sunday kind of week because of the Europa League. And I was super disappointed by Bournemouth, who also missed a penalty. And there was other things going on. I'm not sure what's happening with Bournemouth in terms of certainly fitness and energy and intensity. But well done to Aston Villa. The Buendia free kick is wonderful. Onana really dominant again in midfield. The substitutions that are working, even with Watkins still being a bit disappointed and off it. I still think that was a very good performance. But we said at the start of that season, when they were not winning last season, they also went through a patch of, I think, 10 league games without a win. no need to panic when Unai is at the wheel, really.
Well, it was the expected goals were close, but I think a lot of that was down to the Bournemouth penalty.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and if he
absolutely.
puts it away, then it's a different.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
it's
2-1,
a
but
different
still.
story. The Man Mountain Dan Burn gets sent off with 17 minutes to go, and Newcastle collapse at Brentford, losing 3-1. Jules, they're not quite clicking. Are you buying? We've talked about this before. Is it especially hard for them to perform in the Champions League and in the league? Is it Voltemade?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of everything, really. I think Eddie Howe has been very disappointing in how he cannot get his team going. They're only 2 points above the relegation zone in a bad season again. So this is quite unacceptable from a Newcastle point of view. They still haven't won away from home in the Premier League, which is again unacceptable for this team, for a team of this level with this kind of investment and these kind of players. You can't get them to play properly in the league, certainly. And even when they take the lead and you know exactly what to expect from a Brentford team at home, you struggle defensively all over the pitch. Really, you don't win any duels. The goal you concede, the first one, is embarrassing. Really, the long throw, Pope, bottom man, all of that. For a team of big guys like them, and then...
Yeah, but how could they possibly have known that Brentford were going to employ long throws?
And I think Burn is lucky and unlucky in the same way, because the first one is 100% a penalty. You even see by his body language and his reaction to his challenge on Ouattara. The second one, I don't think it is, but they clearly give the second one because they realized they made a mistake on the first one and didn't give the first one. Pope getting injured, Ramsdale coming. Just the whole thing has been a shambles of a weekend. Plenty of changes in the boardroom at Tottenham after Daniel Levy's exit. Gab, they're looking for a new shirt sponsor as well, and they want sponsors also for each of their stands.
Yeah, so, I mean, I always notice this when I go. I always like to see who the sponsors are and ask have I heard of these, or are these like weirdo betting companies with a bunch of numbers in them, or like Chelsea, one of Chelsea's sponsors is a company called Ling Long Tires, and I'm assuming it's all the same thing, but I guess they make 3 different kinds of tires: Crosswind, Lao, and Toyo Tire. And it looks like they're only sponsored by tire companies and nothing else.
Yeah.
Do you know who Spurs have had the same sponsor for 10 years? Talk about forgettable.
Yeah.
Do you know who they are on their shirts?
Not like this, no.
So 10 years of Spurs and Harry Kane in our faces. And we don't remember.
Is it something AI something?
Very good.
Yeah.
AIA. We do this for a living. Watch a lot of football. This tells you about everything you need to know. And this is why I think a lot of clubs, a lot of sponsors are saying, I don't necessarily want to meet, your price here. They're still looking for naming rights for the stadium, but they're also going to sell individual naming rights to the individual stands, which I don't believe that's been done. I don't really pay attention to this. Have you ever been to one?
It's usually a former player or club legend or something like that. So the the cloth stand at Forest, when that's very regular, or Kenny Dalglish at Liverpool. But I was trying to find a funny sponsor that you could put on the stands.
I think we have a bit of money left over because this show is doing so well.
The Gab Juls stand.
Should we inquire about sponsoring a stand?
Yeah.
Or maybe at least a ladies' restroom at Spurs?
Yeah, that's a good idea, if you want to.
Let's go to the Women's Super League. Arsenal come from behind to draw 1-1 with Chelsea. But Jules, plenty of offside suspicions and calls for VAR.
Yeah, 2 goals disallowed for Arsenal. One at least was a massive mistake. There's no VAR in the women's game in the WSL, which can be explained.
And 1 goal which should not have stood. Which was the equaliser.
One in the 87th minute. To be fair, I think the draw is, considering how the game went and all those decisions and everything, I think the draw is probably a fair result anyway. But yeah, you're right. Even that goal was controversial in a way. So, I don't know. VAR in the WSL is very difficult. 1, because stadiums are sometimes just too small for it. 2, because of the cost, obviously. I don't know what the answer is, although you came up with a good idea. Yeah,
so about the stadiums being small, by the way, for those who don't know, this game was played at the Emirates, 56,000 in attendance. tremendous result. But they don't play all. I mean, Arsenal, I think they play all their WSL games, not all but not their Champions League games.
Champions League from the knockout stages, but all the WSL games.
But a lot of these clubs, because they play at smaller venues, and it works for them because you don't have, even if you get 10,000 in like a 60,000 stadium, it looks empty. You get,
you lose money as well.
And so it's difficult to go, and you lose money on it. And there's an expense involved with VAR, and obviously if the teams want to pay for it, I'm sure they can have it. One alternative you mentioned there, FIFA now allow what they call video support referees, and they just work off the television pictures, and each team can make a challenge per half. And if the challenge is successful, they get to keep their challenge. This is what they did, I think, at the Under-20 World Cup.
Yeah.
It's what they do in the third division in Italy. It's just a cheaper way. You just have somebody on your bench look at the feet. Hey, did Russo look offside? Yes, no. Now, they're not going to have the technology drawing the lines on the bench, but the referee looks at it and says, like, oh, look, she's clearly offside. Or, you know what? I can't really tell. Let me stick with the call on the pitch.
Exactly.
It's a Band-Aid, but if the clubs aren't going to pay for VAR, and this is a decision you have to make, right? The coaches may want it because coaches will be competitive. At the same time, money that you spend on VAR is money you're not spending on players, on facilities, and on growing the women's game. So it's a trade-off. This could be a small step in the right direction if that's what they want.